Hey everybody, I hope you are doing well. My name is William and this is a Set of Corsa Competition. Today we are going to be driving the absolutely beautiful Aston Martin Vantage V8 GT3 around Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. We'll have a hot lap coming up for you after this, and then after the hot lap I will talk through the setup and give a couple little tweaks and changes you can make to potentially make it a little more suited to your driving style if you don't like it the way it was right out of the box. On that note, I also want to say if you have any feedback for the setup, good or negative feedback, go ahead and put it in the comments below. I read all the comments. If it is good feedback, it's nice to hear. If it's negative feedback, just try and put as much detail in there as you can. If you want advice, if you're just going to say it sucks, or something along those lines, you're more than welcome to do that as well. But you could also just go look for someone else's setup on YouTube or something. Anyways, this is kind of free after all, but yeah, that's the way it goes. Anyways, before we get into the hot lap, I do really want to say that I appreciate all of y'all's support. Over 2,000 subscribers is absolutely insane to me. I'm putting some links in the description. One of them is to my Twitter. If you want to get a hold of me or anything like that, that is probably the easiest way. Also, I post about the races I do occasionally on there, if you're interested in that kind of thing, and a lot of space-related stuff because I'm a space nerd, but you're probably not going to be too interested in that. Also, there is a link in there if you want to donate, if you feel that generous. You're not obligated to by any means. The idea behind doing this is to make it free and not behind a paywall or anything like that. So strictly there if you're feeling super generous or something along those lines, but not an obligation at all. It is just as nice to share this video with a friend of yours or some people in a public server if they're wondering how you're going so quick, or maybe they want to know why you're spinning so much at Eau Rouge or whatever. It can go both ways, or giving this video a like. It helps a lot as well. So anyways, I'm going to shut up. We'll get into the hot lap, and then I will be back with you to talk over the setup. Enjoy. Okay, everybody, that was a hot lap around Catalunya in the Aston Martin Vantage V8 GT3. We wound up with a 1:44.175. I absolutely butchered the braking zone into the final chicane. Just ran in there a little bit too deep. Definitely cost me about 2/10 there. This car has 43s on the cards, but more importantly, it is fun to drive and, in my opinion, very, very, very stable. So let's take a look at the sector times here. Um, no purple sectors on my fastest lap, which makes me very sad. Very, very sad indeed. But yeah, 144.171. Uh, it's a tenth off of our purple sector in sector 3, which is where I messed up that corner. I seriously feel like I lost at least 2 tenths doing that. So 2 tenths there, and then 2 tenths in the middle sector, which I know for me, that right-hander that leads you onto the back straight before the hairpin at the end of the back straight, that right-hander, as you kind of uh, blind entry and hitting the curb and not wanting to run too far off to the left to invalidate the lap time. I was a little scared through there every single time because I started quite a few of these laps that I just went straight back to the garage because I invalidated my lap time by running too wide there. So I'm not surprised with that. Sector 1 was pretty solid though. Really nothing to complain about as far as Sector 1 is concerned, in my opinion. So yeah, a 144.175, like I said, very stable, very, very fun to drive, and I think extremely capable of getting down into the 43s, just with a little more time and a little more skill than I have. So onto the setup here. We started with the aggressive preset, as I pretty much always do. The tire pressures, I just adjusted for 28 psi hot at the front and 27.5 psi hot at the rear. Was kind of the pressure range I was looking for. Just a little bit lower pressure at the rear for the slow speed traction and that kind of thing. It's not really a huge difference, but I don't know. It makes me feel better anyways. The toe, I think, is the only other thing I changed as far as this is concerned. I increased the rear toe just to give a little bit more stability and help the drive off of the corners at the rear. Is what I was really struggling with off of the aggressive preset was stability off of the corner and into the corner mostly. Onto the electronics. This is all pretty much at your discretion, or your preference, whatever. But I was running the traction control on 1, ABS on 2, the ECU map on 1, which is the fastest setting for the car, and traction control 2 on 4. I had the brake pad compound on 2 for the front and rear. And then onto the suspension, I increased the stiffness of the front anti-roll bar by 1 to give me a little bit more security into the medium and slow speed corners. So if you're getting understeer, you can put that back. It started at 3, so I just increased it by 1. Like I said, that was just for security on turn-in, more or less, a little bit more stability. I decreased the brake bias from 64% to 62.8. It kept braking faster, basically, the lower and lower I went without any negative side effects. So you might even try that further back. Let's see, we increased the wheel rate at the front of the car, which we'll get into why as well in just a moment. And then the wheel rate at the rear is the same. Decrease the anti-roll bar stiffness at the rear to 2, just increasing the drivability out of the slow speed corners a little bit. And then we also increased the preload from 30 to 80 on the rear. I noticed a lot of what I was getting was it felt like one wheel kind of spinning up instead of 2. Like it wasn't straight up oversteer, it just didn't want to drive out of the corner. So increase the preload, see if that would help and give a little bit more drive out of the corner, which I could manage with the throttle pedal instead of just having traction control kick in. Onto the dampers, we reworked the front bump and rebound because of the increased wheel rate. Basically no big difference there. It felt pretty good attacking the curbs on and off, which was nice around this track. You can't touch some of them still because they're quite large, but yeah. And then on the rear, just basically trying to manage how it's putting its weight down on its rear tires in the slow speed corners, and how much weight we're putting onto the front um, in the braking zones and such. So increase the bump on the rear to just not absolutely plant all the weight onto the rears, and increase the rebound as well to not overload the fronts going into the braking zones, that kind of thing. Let's see, onto the aero. Brake ducts, lowered those down, and then this was the bigger change. Really, it's only 3 millimeters, but it made quite a big difference. It started on 55 millimeters for the front ride height. I increased that up. For my lap, I ran it on 58. I went as high as 62. I think 58 to 60 is kind of the sweet spot. 55, it really just felt like I was hitting the splitter, and that's where a lot of my instability was coming from in a lot of the braking zones and such. So increasing it a little bit, it improved the ride over the curbs and the stability into a bunch of the corners. 58, I still feel like I'm getting it bottoming out for sure in a couple places. I'd have to check on the telemetry if I can even really see that. So you might increase that. 60 felt very, very comfortable, just giving up a little bit of performance in the high-speed sweepers. Fortunately, there's the high-speed sweepers around this track. They're long, but there's not many of them. So if you're like I said, if you're still getting that instability, try and increase the front red height just by another 2 millimeters or so. It doesn't take a huge swing to really change it that much. But yeah, anyways, guys, that's the setup. There really wasn't a ton that needed to be done. Just kind of fine-tuning and tweaking that kind of takes some time, unfortunately. But yeah, if you try this, let me know how you get on with it. Like I said, any feedback, put it in the comments below. If you have a vote for what track we go to next, put it in the comments as well. I appreciate all the support, guys. Share this with your friends, buddies, opponents, whatever you're doing. Check out the link in the description to follow me on Twitter, that kind of thing. And yeah, guys, you're awesome. I hope this helps some of you. Until next time.